Good morning, everyone. This is Kathy Mason with Mason Works Marketing, here today with Kimberly Braun. Hi, Kimberly.
Hello, Kathy, and everyone else.
Yeah, so we have a Rev in the house. We've got Reverend Kimberly Braun, and she's a spiritual teacher. I'm going to read this because it's so good.
Sure,
A
sure.
spiritual teacher that has been impelled from and within her contemplative experiences from the age of 5. And over 10 years spent as a Carmelite,
Carmelite. Carmelite. Yeah.
monastic nun. Okay, so not only do we have a Rev in the house, we have somebody who was a nun. And actually, when we started talking this morning, that's when I remember that I first met Kimberly. I went to a wonderful book signing party at Marianne and Paul Sperry's house in Longmont when her book first came out, and her book is called Love Calls.
Yes.
Why don't we start with setting this up, because you have so many incredible, beautiful talents that you could help us with. I know you're a meditation coach and teacher, and you teach at some of the finest places in the world. You do. You're amazing. And you are the most amazing cook. Amazing. You are.
It's all about the banquet of life, right?
Why don't you tell us the story, at least set us up so that we understand your journey, because where you are now is so different than being a nun, not in a in a spiritual way. You're probably very similar because the mysticism is similar, but in the lifestyle, it's very different.
Yeah. Thank you for recognizing that. That's true. And definitely in writing the book, part of it was a response to stepping out into an active ministry and finding myself over and over again asked, why did you join a monastery? Why did you leave a monastery? Why, and not knowing at first how to answer it. Not that I couldn't give the details, the storyline, but because I've always been motivated from a very deep level of union with the beloved. That's my word really for divine consciousness is beloved.
Beautiful.
And since I've experienced that overwhelmingly in my life over and over again, I wanted to write to it in that first book. I wanted to answer the question from the place that was most true and most honest for me. And so that gave me an opportunity to invite people into their own experiences of, there's a really deep pulsing force that is not only guiding us, not only embracing us, but also impelling us to be all we're meant to be. So everything I've done now since I left the monastery almost 20 years ago.
Wow.
I know I was a nun for more than 10 years. And I just was looking today, I'm like, wow, it has been almost 20 years. And in that 20 years, I have been so blessed to be the person that gets to honor and stand at the entry point for people in the deeper union, whether the union is with themselves, whether it's with something they might call God, whether it's union with the universe, whatever it might be. I think our wholeness comes about as we experience the inner union. So that's all I do is I get to kind of bring the fruit of monastic life and my own mystic path, and bringing that fruit is to be walking with others and develop the skillfulness that I can be helpful as a friend.
Well, but this is what's so amazing, is that you somehow make it more tangible. I mean, some people are philosophers / gurus that they open up their light body and you're in their field and you have an experience of the divine. But you somehow bring someone along, not by activating them, by stimulating them. It's a different experience. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's more soft sweet, safe feeling, trusting, and more nurturing, that they can hold the frequency. I mean, just by the way you bless this.
Mm.
Do you,
Thank you. Yes.
yeah.
And I have always felt this call. If there was to be an active call, it's a longing for people to experience themselves as consciousness.
Yep.
So my energy field and my thoughts and my all my faculties are oriented towards that. I've always felt a bit like I'm Levin, even though I'm a dynamic personality and there are things that are very out there.
Uh-huh.
I still feel that in the actual process, when people either work with me or I'm speaking to a large group, people forget about me. So if I'm on a stage, even in front of 3,000 people, people end up forgetting about me because they start to experience the consciousness of themselves. And you're right, it's a safe thing, and it makes me so happy. In fact, it's a funny story. When I left the monastery, because we were given religious names, I love and loved my religious name. It's still got wedding bells when I hear it.
Really?
And I wanted to keep it. And there was something about being anonymous in the field that also symbolized to me. And my spiritual director at the time was adamant and said, you've got to take your name. And as I've been in ministry, I see the importance of that.
I just got chills when you said that.
Yeah.
So there is something powerful about it.
Taking the name and standing in the name. First, because I'm marginal. I'm a woman. I'm a minister who doesn't have a tradition anymore. And so there's something about being in the marginal parts of society, if you will. Yeah. So taking the name is a powerful statement, and so that was a funny story. But even though I take my name, I do find that happens energetically. That I end up being forgotten. And people end up being free, and it becomes about them and the beloved.
So that's the perfect way to be a way shower, really, is that that it isn't about celebrity, it's about nurturing, really. Everything that I've seen you do is just pure from the heart, and it's a sharing, but it may be guiding, but it's not a in your face that are transformed, because you're not an in your face person. I mean, if I wouldn't know you, I wouldn't believe that you could stand up and speak to 3,000 people, because you have this softness. No, really, your gentle spirit. So it's not, in fact, how did you do that? How did you go from being a nun and being very contemplative, right? And totally in service, which you are just in the world in service rather than in a small venue. You're in the world in service, right?
Yes, I am. And it's the same. I feel so blessed in that I still feel that I walk in that silence. No matter where I'm at, whether I'm here with you, whether I'm in a social gathering where we're dancing, whether I'm standing up on a stage, whether I'm working, facilitating a retreat, whatever it may be, that quality of being in the pregnant silence doesn't change. And I don't feel a positioning when I stand in front of a lot of people. So I think a lot of times we as individuals can get nervous when we take on a role, like we're supposed to show up a certain way. And all I feel is when I get onto, like, I'm going to use a stage for lack of a better word, but if I get onto a stage, I feel like I'm actually one-on-one there. It has the same feeling to me. So there's an easefulness and a self-forgetfulness. So
wonderful. And also that you trust that you're being guided and protected, right?
It happens 100%. It happens all the time. I find even when I did my TEDx talk, it was interesting because it was so packed, and it was the first time I was doing a talk like that to an audience that didn't know what to expect from me.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't bring me in to speak to spirituality or something. It was this, and I had no idea who these people were or what I was speaking to, and with my topic, it channeled through me effortlessly. I didn't even practice it. I didn't practice. So I don't practice any of my talks. They come through and they're just like exactly, and I know that spirit working. Yeah. So
That's so cool. Well,
it
we're
is
glad
cool.
to too. So we have some people that have said hi. Magnus, Terry, Nina. So yeah, hello everyone and welcome. If you have questions, please share your questions. It makes it a very interesting conversation. Um, so what happens with your work? You do some coaching, and then you do teaching, right? So, or is it? I don't know. Coaching's that
It's
word,
such a word. It's a hard word. My formal training is as a spiritual director, a Reiki master, and a seminarian trained minister.
right?
I've been teaching contemplative practice for so long that I also teach the psycho-spiritual development that goes alongside that. So
Okay.
a lot of the courses that I do, the retreats I lead, or the one-on-one work is a kind of creating the container of presencing that the person comes into contact with where they're at in relation to spirit. And then because I'm there with them, I can both reflect what is happening there from a
Ah,
more objective place as an observer, but I can also offer the support so that people can step into greater freedom. So a lot of times people go through radical healings and shifts. Almost always I work with people who are actually really know they're ready for change in their lives.
right.
I rarely attract toe tippers who are just beginning to kind of, you can be a beginner. We're all beginners. So it's not a matter of being advanced on your path. But I usually always work with people who there's something within them that is ready to shift. And I facilitate that shifting. And then a lot of times then they may work with some other kind of coach after working with me because they will have grown in their own self-mastery of discernment, of freedom, of a consistent peace, of healing of emotional trauma. And so my modality is much more like a minister and less like a person who's going to give you a manual.
Right, right.
You're
Well,
going to say,
that coaching. So I love the variety of coaching options that people have, but
amazing, yeah.
it is. It's it's just like if you want a physical coach, you have a personal trainer, and then if you want leadership coach, you can have that. And what this is almost wholeness coaching. This is like
Coaching.
yeah, where you get to see who you really are from a divine point of view, and then once Kimberly reflects it to you, you can hold it.
Yes, that's it. That's it. Very well put. Coming into contact with and then being it.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right. So, and how do you see? Don't you see more and more people waking up to this now? Are you? I mean, I'm. Of course, we're in 2020, which is the election year. And I don't like that conflict and all of that contrast personally, but because it's making right and wrong and it's still fighting. So are you seeing, from my perspective, I see more people waking up and wanting peace, wanting to love themselves, wanting to love this earthly experience, and wanting to be in service. Are you seeing that as well?
I had to think about it because I travel a lot. We're in a community here that is the focus.
Right.
So it's easy to see it
But the
magnified.
Midwest may not be.
Uh, I'm I'll caution my response because I shy away from making general. I don't think my gift is making overarching observations in society and saying, yes, we're moving here, or no, we're not.
Oh, okay.
But I can say this much, is that there is a softening into the understanding that we're truly interconnected.
Oh, good.
I find that across the country. So even when I'm in arenas that aren't particularly comfortable with what we might call alternative perspectives, there still is this softening that's happening in this direct experience of, in my language, of the divine in creation. So yeah, I see that growing.
And I think what's really interesting about what you do, because of your Christian background, you're providing a bridge to this mysticism, which is the basis of all the religions, from the beginning of mankind that we know of anyway. And so what you're doing is that you're able to touch people that a Buddhist might not be able to touch, because the language, well, first of all, it'd be so foreign that the person may not trust it, or be fearful. It would be totally fearful.
I feel blessed in that very much. And not only because my monastic life offered me that experience on an essence level, so I feel that my language shape shifts to serve the people I'm with in the best sense of the word, not in a manipulative way, but more in a service way.
Right.
But in addition to that, the seminary training I had, the professors were awesome. I mean, they were mystics in their own right, and they were brilliant. And I learned from them a very systematic way to investigate the progression of how we evolve, of the thoughts, of the emotion, and what I learned from them, even though they were not all of them were Catholic, but pretty much all Catholic, I use in every arena, implicitly, maybe not explicitly, but implicitly.
Well, because it's still at the core of who we are. All of those tools, they don't have to have a label. It doesn't have a religious label. But honestly, Kimberly, what you do is make everything safe to be exposed without judgment. And that's, I mean, your presence, the way you work with people, it's really remarkable. It's very different, because there's a lot of people out there speaking loud, shoulda, woulda, couldas. I mean, you've got this personal development stream that's been since the 80s that I've known of, maybe earlier, but the 80s is when I got involved in it. Career Track, and then there's Nightingale Conant, and now there's Sounds True and Gaia TV. All of them have this, self-help, self-improvement kind of thing. So you've got a lot of people, but it's almost like they taught you yoga as a exercise program and forgot the spiritual side. They forgot the wholeness, the holistic view of it, the heart view of it.
Right. And adding to what you're saying, because I appreciate that observation, I have loved, just recently I took a course that on the Recognition Sutras written in the 12th century. It was from the Non-Dual Shiva Tantra school. And in it, I loved the way consciousness was described, and part of the power and the action of consciousness coming into form. There's 5 powers, but 2 of them are awareness and concealment. And consciousness is in this divine play of coming into an awareness where all concealment is aware. And it seems to me that as a species, it's naive to think that just because something of a brilliant light shows up on the earth, that automatically we're going to embody it in its fullness. Rather, it's going to let us make observations like that. Well, the fullness is here, but we've barely touched it. We've barely become it yet. And it makes sense that there's still a bit of a misconception and awakening into with these different modalities, and that it just makes sense because we ourselves are young in our evolution. from where I stand. We think we know a lot, but we're really young. If we're called to embody consciousness, I think the full embodiment of that would bear different fruit than what we see in the world.
Oh, yes. And that's why I was hoping when I asked the question before that you would say, oh, well, more people are embodying.
Right. I'm sorry.
That's what I want to live in that team, I guess. Really, that's what I feel. My personal vision is to help as many people wake up to their divinity as possible. And that's why I feel kindred spirit to you. You do it your way. I do it through the marketing and promoting side, where the idea is that we mirror back these potential aspects of the divine that's in every one of us, right? And so what I'm seeing, and it may be just because I live here and the people that I hang with, is I am seeing more people accepting the gift. I guess that's the best way to put it.
I love that, and I would accept that as true. So I'll
Good
you in that observation.
Well, because I grew up in a Catholic neighborhood, and there was St. Ursula Academy up the street, and the ladies were in their outfits, their habits. Thank you. And I went up there one time and tried to sell Girl Scout cookies, not realizing that that they probably weren't going to buy Girl Scout cookies, but I didn't know. I knocked on the door of the St. Ursula Academy. It was a big, beautiful house that someone had donated to the church, and they made a private school out of it in my neighborhood. So anyway, I grew up in a neighborhood that was beautiful, with full of traditional religion. I studied in Italy. I speak Italian. I went to school there 5 different times. So, and I know you just got to go do the Camino. So, and I did tag Brett in here, but she's not showing up. Brett Petway was my friend that I wanted to connect you with, that lives here in Boulder, that did the El Camino also, but I don't think you did Portugal and Spain. I'm not sure she did Portugal and Spain. I think she just did the Spain part. Yeah. So do you want to share a little bit about that? Because I think the listeners would love to know about that experience.
Absolutely. And let me preface it that if you do jump on my website, if you go to my YouTube channel there, I have a video feed, but you have to scroll through because I do so many video, and I'm leading a 40-day meditation series now too. So you will get day by day. I posted a Facebook Live and convert it into YouTube. So if after this interview you're more curious, I give a day by day, much more on the inspiration level. I do involve some of the practical ins and outs, but only so much as they serve the topic that came to me for the day. Yeah, I would love to talk about it. And when I went over, one of the reasons I was actually able to do it from a time and a money perspective is that my retreat on Teresa of Avila and John of the Cross filled. And so I was over there leading a retreat on these mystics beforehand. So that was a 14-day, it was 10-day retreat with prep on both sides. And we took a different mystical poem each day and let that be the way we broke open the day. And then we went to the very places where they wrote the poem.
Oh my Lord.
So when I started the Camino, I was already in bliss. I was just like, I didn't come needing a break or something. I was just like high on this communion with Teresa and John. And so I had the time after that to walk the Camino. And everybody comes from a different place. And I did find with all the people I met, everybody had some reason and intention they were doing it, for sure. For me, the past 3 or 4 years have had some very big challenges to them. Just sometimes we all go through times where we just don't get a break.
Yeah.
Like the rug just you,
Yep.
like
Yep.
no matter what you do, no matter how you surrender or how hard you work or whatever you do, due diligence, things just keep kind of slipping through or getting destroyed. And I had just come through a period like that was a real shakeup in a lot of ways. And I needed to be in silence with the beloved. That's my strength, and that's my love. I love people, but I love the solitude. And so when I chose to do the Camino, I knew I wanted to get up before sunrise every day, an hour before, and walk all my walk mainly by myself. There's tons of people. You could be walking in community the whole way, but I wanted to get unraveled in the silence. I needed to weep when I felt like weeping. I needed to laugh when I felt like laughing. I needed to just be really simple. I needed to want to have something for my mind and not have something available. I just needed to have that concentrated space. So that's what I did. And I walked usually about 15 miles a day. Every
Wow.
once in a while it was 20 one day because of something. I walked actually like 35 miles that one day, which was insane. But the flow and the grace of walking it, Kathy, I didn't get a blister. I didn't get hurt. It was like easy. It was just like, whew. And then when I stopped for meals, I enjoyed being with people and met everybody. And I've walked away with a lot more friends. But the walking the Camino was an energetic infusion of myself again as a pilgrim, as a sojourner here, as somebody who's meant to be here in the world and at the same time am a pilgrim, like all of us. So it was very powerful. And by the end of it, I had recovered the some of the release from the kind of the PTSD of some of the challenges. Like that had been released. My neural pathways were calmed. Because even I think this is so important to point to. I've been blessed to be on my path consciously since I was like 5. And even when we have that grace of that knowingness and that presence that we walk in, even then, it doesn't mean that we're not going to have more challenge, or there aren't going to be periods of great emptiness, or there aren't going to be periods of confusion or doubt or destruction. It simply means that as we walk through it as a human being, we're going to do it within an embrace and not void of an embrace.
Beautiful.
So I say that because sometimes people are saying, well, challenges? You don't look like you have any challenges.
Well, it's still being a human if you're not, I mean, this is Earth school as far as I can see. And so if you're...
You know that well.
And so what the thing is you just keep, how do I best serve? How do I best serve? And the thing that I'm finding, and I think you could hopefully speak to this, I want to say hi to Marbeth. Marbeth Dunn is here. Hi, Marbeth.
Hi, Marbeth.
What I would love to say, to talk about is trust. Because we've got this virus now, and we've got the unstable, I mean, there's going to be less travel available to a lot of people. The impact of what's happening here is causing, at least the people that I'm working with, there's a lot of anxiety, a lot more than normal. And so is there something that you could suggest as a way for them to trust? Because you did the Camino because you trusted that was your path to wholeness, or closer to wholeness.
Right. That's great. I would say being honest. Being honest with how you really feel in relation. Let's just talk virus.
Okay.
Being honest with your true what's really going on inside of you. We live in a world, and we're in particular arenas where it's encouraged to have a lot of positive affirmations, a lot of being so confident that you can hold the healthy energy, and that's true. I think that when we do self-realize, we have an energetic signature that leaves us healthy even if there's sickness around us.
Right.
So I do think that's true. However, I don't think as a species we have arrived in the full realization of that. And sometimes we can trick ourselves into grasping for what we think we need to trust, or a belief we need to hold on to, or a practice we need to do. And I would say if you notice in relation to something that's a challenge that you're clenching down, that's a great indicator that you're not in a place of trust.
Right. Perfect.
That you're in a place of wanting to trust, which is good to affirm. And then draw upon your way of finding where you're really at, because everyone's different. You know, for me, it's solitude. I encounter the beloved so strongly that I find what I'm looking for there. For others, it's a trusted mentor or spiritual guide. For others, it's sinking into their community. For others, it's an increased meditation practice. But be very sincere. Don't take lightly the knowing that you're not trusting. And in that honesty, then you can find the path to trust. I love that you brought it up, because to trust is such a light-filled place to be.
And but staying there is it's almost as though you need a practice. At least for me. I mean, I even have right here, I have Anita Bond's trust.
Love it. That's so
Right?
great.
So I know that that's something that I work on, because we all are so guided if we'll allow that information and that energy. All of us have angels and guides. All of us have a connection to the divine. But if our mind is busy and we don't connect to that, we've lost the opportunity to be really on our spiritual path to the fullest extent. Would you agree with that? Or
I 100% agree. And I think trust can even be the path. Learning to trust can be the path. We can be like 5-year-olds learning how to play in the sandbox when it comes to trust. We don't have to say, oh, I'm 60 now, or I'm 50, and I've been doing this all along, so I should be trusting. Trust can be the path. There's a great poem. I draw upon a lot of poetry for my of trust too. And there's a poem called The Spiritual Canticle by John of the Cross. Gorgeous. And if anybody wants a copy, you can email me. I'll send you my translation. But in it is a takeoff on the Song of Songs from the Hebrew scriptures. And it goes through the developing relationship of love, union, and trust with God. Wow. And it cycles all the way through. In Song of Songs, it's 8 chapters. In the Spiritual Canticle, I think it's 88 stanzas.
Wow.
It goes through everything from the unitive moments to the agony of not finding the beloved, to the misunderstanding of what it's all about, to the being found anew. And in the end, it's interesting because he comes to such union that I think he's laying under an apple tree fed by the beloved. So you get the image of like, he's arrived.
Oh.
And the last stanza is, and then on the horizon, the cavalry came into view.
Oh, and so he gets to this incredible connection, and then the real physical danger shows up.
Well, actually, he means it as a metaphor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he means that even when he has arrived, the cavalry is still going to be there to allow that arrival to deepen in its trust.
Well, Tess, that's one of those. You say you want this, okay? Let's see how much you really want these unending tests of what you say or what you feel, right? because there's another level to every. That's when you said that we're like children and we're just evolving. That's part of it. Is that there's always another step to take.
Yeah, and I find if we can frame that's part of the unconditional love affair we're part of. You know, there's a part in all of us that wants unconditional love. I mean, we seek it all the time in relationship, and hence why all the drama when we don't find it. uh, we long for it. There's something in our bones that longs for it. And I think there's an invitation there to understand that part of the fulfillment of that very longing is the ascent to knowing that our evolution in the love affair is going to constantly be on the edge of our own comfort zone, moving into new grounds of being.
Perfect. Oh, beautiful.
How kind that makes it. Doesn't it make it so kind?
Well, it's kind, but it's never ending also, which is the there's so many people that it's like I had a white light experience, let's see, 15 years ago. And then I spent, because the white life was seeing my connection to God and seeing how big my essence was and how little is in this body of who I am. And then the connection to the divine. So and I spent years like, how do I bring more of that in this? How do but you're never done. I mean, for you to even think that it's almost a joke. Right?
It is a little cosmic joke, isn't it? Jeremiah says, I love this because I went through another real big challenge back in 2010, and the thing that gave me incredible consolation and light in it were a couple passages in the book of Jeremiah, and Jeremiah says at one time to God, he says, "You duped me, and I let myself be duped."
Oh, that's great. That's so cute. So Sony Adai's here, and Milana Fiore is here, and Puri.
I love you too.
And I was gonna ask about Rumi. Actually, thank you, Priya, for showing up, because it sounds like a lot of the mystic poetry that you share. I mean, I've been with you 2 Christmas at those wonderful parties that you cooked all the food for us.
Yeah.
And amazing. And you usually share one of the mystical poems, and it is Rumi-like. And those all seem like they're coming from a longing, an awareness of a longing.
Longing, in my experience in myself, since my relationship is beloved oriented, and in some of the poetry that magnifies that and reflects that and celebrates that, longing is one piece of it. But I think in the longing itself is also the fully sensual, embodied tasting of it already. I've never found that I have a longing that I'm not already tasting, that there's not already the fragrance in my nostrils, or the lingering taste in my mouth, or the excitement in my heart. And so I would say that the longing for me, it is not, it definitely points to perhaps a gap towards, but it's a gap towards that's coming from the embrace with already.
So the reason I brought up longing was because I feel Rumi, a lot of the poetry I know of from Rumi is based on longing to experience that divine love, that divine light. And so you're saying that you already, something planted a seed of you to be even aware of that connection, which is the path to
long. Yeah. No, I'm not going to speak to Rumi, especially since we have someone that's so deeply imbued with the wisdom of Rumi.
Yeah,
but because I will be very honest, is that I absolutely love Rumi, and Rumi's one of my I have 3 different translations of his works next to a lot of other mystical poetry. But my interface with it is from my own particular enculturation,
Right.
basically. And so I would be kind of superimposing my sense to that. But I've always found that. I have always found that it's the divine desiring happening within us.
Beautiful.
That, right. That at the soul center we are God, and that force, that life force, is desiring to realize itself over and over again in new ways, in diverse ways, and full ways. And that longing is, in a sense, it's like a response to that urging that's already happening. That's my experience.
That's beautiful.
As painful, because I'm a big desirer. I have like a fiery, I want it all, and and so as painful as
right on, Kimberly.
Yeah.
Well, the reason I'm asking is I really feel that there's some incredible opportunities right now. Well, first of all, we're in a time where we're so interconnected, and you can, if you so choose, you can have access to any cultural version of this material, whether it's the Western version or the Eastern version. There's so many ways that if you want to deepen your connection with your higher source, there's incredible ways. But the thing that I love is the way that you teach it, because there's softness to it. That's why I tried to explain that earlier, is that you can see Kimberly's not reading something and teaching a class. She lives this. She walked the Camino, and she walked it by herself, with, it sounds scary to me, actually, as a woman in Europe walking and sleeping in who knows where by myself. I mean, but you wanted to be in silence doing that meditation. And so you're seeing someone who walks their talk. I mean, that's a phrase that everyone uses, but she walks her talk.
Again, I can say with Jeremiah, you duped me, and I let myself be duped.
Again,
what else is there, you know?
Well, anyway, that's why I was so excited that you said you'd come on the show, is that this is Conscious Business Zone, and these people, a lot of the audience are people that own small businesses, and they want to be providing products and services and have a community inside their business that's loving, that is honoring of everyone's genius. But they need to make money, and they don't have time necessarily to find resources like you that could help them, guide them to be in love with themselves more and support themselves. And so that's
your commitment to being love in the business world, to straddling the spheres, if you will. I definitely know that that's what we're called to in embodying consciousness. But yeah, and I would love, I just started an online spiritual community that you can enter even for free. And we're doing a 40-day meditation series now. It's not so much a meditation series as it is a little devotional. And you can also join the subscription level, which gives you a lot of wisdom sharing with others of like mind.
Essence Tribe?
That's essencetribe.com.
Here too.
Yeah, you can get to it from my regular website, but you can also get to it independently. And it's slowly gathering people from all over the world. We have about 100 right now, and I'd like to grow it to about 500. And it's so that we can all learn from each other's wisdom. Obviously, as the founder of it, I'm maintaining the energetic integrity of it as we begin. But I know in time there's going to be many people. I'm already having people kind of co-lead and bring forward their perspectives and their gifts. But it's a safe place to explore what you might call your truth. Not like oh, you know, how can I philosophize about my truth? But what's informing my life? What's the juice of my life? What are the unspoken beliefs that are life-giving? And what are the beliefs that actually don't serve me? And
Right.
it's a safe place because there aren't any ideas of what that's supposed to look like. There's just the opportunity for the experience in a non-judgmental way. So
Beautiful.
that's a fun way if you're looking for a little bit of community to fit, you know, within your very tight schedule.
Well, and I think that that's the opportunity is to have a vision of another way of being, because whatever you put attention on amplifies. And so the idea of just putting attention on problems versus putting attention on love, it multiplies,
Yeah.
right? So Milana put loving the nectar, and Zach Bergen here with you. But he hasn't put anything else. Zach, aren't you gonna give us some words of wisdom here? Come on. He's brilliant. He's brilliant.
Yes,
So,
I know. Yeah.
for the Essence Tribe, that I did put it up here too. You can reach it if you go to KimberlyBraun.com, but you also can go straight to the Essence Tribe. And as Kimberly said, she has a beautiful collection of interviews and YouTubes where you can get, even if it's just to give you peace, you can have, because you can hear in her voice, it's this grounded, beautiful connection back to your heart. Oh, he said, I was busy and jumped on late, is what Zach said.
No, exactly.
You can still do it though.
You're still here.
Yeah. Yeah, but we never know what we're asking for though. Uh, but Kimberly, what again, when you say that we're young, I see this whole human experience as a journey to the heart. And is that how words of wisdom? Look for the love in everyone, and it will completely change your experience of them. No flaws, only purity. Oh, okay. Plus, Kathy, never PM me to get together. Okay, I won't.
Okay.
Oh, no, I didn't. He's shaming me that I didn't have coffee with them.
I saw that. I saw that. That's
Okay.
I do love you. I'm since I'm such a lover archetype from such a young age. I do love the love language around speaking to coming into wholeness as a human being. However, I don't know. I don't know that I would, from a perspective place, say it's a journey to the heart. I would say it's a journey into the fullness of the soul, embodying consciousness on the earth, and the heart is part of that.
Okay.
That's how I would speak to it. But it's not to make the language right or wrong, because I think language is simply only pointing to these mysteries anyway. And if we get hung up on the language versus tap into the essence of the language, then we can stop short. I think most divisions come because we hear a language, spoken or unspoken, that either connects us or divides. It feels like it divides. And so I like language. That's why I love poetry so much, because it points to, it doesn't allude to capture the wholeness of the mystery, but it does purport to give an opportunity into the direct experience, which usually results in a certain wordlessness. But if I were to speak to it systematically, I would speak a little bit more on that level, since my belief system really is anchored into the divine is desiring to come into fullness. And that fullness would catch up all of us. Catch up all of what we are. It would catch up our minds, our hearts, our cells. It would catch up our emotions and our memories and our, it would catch up all of that into this amazing, glorious dance of the beloved with each other. But what I do love about the way to see things is I've always loved Psalm 19, and line 3 and line 4 in that I think are very compelling. And because line 1 and 2 are saying, like, the heavens proclaim the glory of the divine. So it's going, saying everything is bursting forward, giving the message of the love. And then, so wisdom filled, we get day unto day tells the story, and night unto night reveals the message. And it says to me that we're so naturally allured by the day, by the brightness, by the light, by the things that so obviously scream goodness, compassion,
beauty, right?
But as well, just on equal footing, rhythmically, on equal footing, night unto night reveals the message. And so I think that even in our world, everything outside of ourselves and inside of ourselves that might seem not whole, that's where the night reveals the message. And if I look at it, that my beloved is speaking to me through the night itself, I can stand in a revelation. And a revelation isn't like, I know how to get there. A revelation is, I am surrendered into the unknown here. So reveal yourself.
Beautiful.
Reveal yourself. Reveal yourself. And I find that has been a path of wholeness for me. When I was going through my challenges a couple years ago, I went on a retreat with the Brahma Kumaris in New York. And while I was there, we would get up at 4 and we'd spend these long hours before their image of kind of the eternal light. It was awesome. And I was so longing for a certain rest inwardly that I was not finding. It was anguish in me that I was bereft of an internal rest I really needed, a coming into a knowing of being embraced just in my challenges. And I found myself beginning to tone the 2 words in a mantra, find me, because I cannot find myself. Find me, find me. And then a gospel passage came to me, and it's a parable that Jesus told. And Jesus said that there was a shepherd who had 100 sheep, and the shepherd is out on the pastures, and the sheep are grazing, and he realizes that his 99 sheep are there, but 1 sheep is gone. And so he leaves the 99 sheep in search of the 1. And when this parable came back to me in my time of silence, it illumined my being, because the 99% of me was resting in the beloved, but this one part needed to be found, this one part. And I experienced this shaft of light just flood into a part of my being. I would call it a part of my heart, but I don't think that's where it was situated. A part of my being where the shaft of light just went bam into that part, to draw the unintegrated part of myself into embrace. That's what I think, that these nights that happen in our lives when the world around us doesn't seem to reflect the beloved so well, that they're there to reveal in that way. So.
Oh, beautiful. So Zach put, there are no separate others or beloved. Ultimately, everything is a perfect mirror of our experience in this dimension. Any discordant illusion we experience is solely for nudging us back to paradise on our spiral inward to center. There's some wisdom. So enjoy your power center.
Yes, amen to that.
Thank you. Well, I hope that people, we need to wrap up. So I hope people will see, I'll put your contact information in the comment information. And Kimberly, is there any other things that for them to contact you here on Facebook, or hi everybody. Hi, Romelda.
Thank you for being here. Thank you. Thanks for inviting me into the conversation and for giving me an opportunity to gush a little bit about such
Oh,
beautiful things.
this is so wonderful. You can see everyone that Kimberly is a huge resource for this beautiful path back to wholeness, or I guess I shouldn't even say that, a path to self-actualization in a beloved way.
Amen.
I'm making this
And if you have any interest in connecting, I'm on all the social media platforms with my name. On my website, if you have actual interest to participate, I have tons of online courses now, and I do sessions, and I'm leading less retreats than I used to. I used to lead about 12 a year.
Yeah.
But I still lead retreats and love that, and I'd love to get to know any of you that would like to get to know me.
Yes, and I can't say enough for the warm arms and loving heart of this being. Poria put, she is an
You're a doll.
thank
Blessings to you, Poria.
oh, thank
It's been too long.
you guys, you have to understand that there's so many opportunities and so many incredible beings that are available
So many
that
beings.
are showing up now to help us through these challenges. And it's just this, it's perfect timing. Thank you so much, Kimberly. Thank you
you,
for who
Kathy.
you are.
Thank you for all you are and all you do.
Oh yeah, it's nothing. But to me, this is the path to sharing and showing up in a much fuller way and making a better future for everyone. So
Amen.
Milana saying, smiling. Thank you. Okay, well, thank you so much, everyone, and please share this if it made your heart sing. Please, bye bye.
Bye.